Hello and welcome. It's a great honor for me to welcome you to the award ceremony of this year's Raif Badawi Award, the award initiated by Ensaf Haidar, wife of imprisoned Saudi blogger and journalist Raif Badawi, and the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom in cooperation with the German Booksellers Association. Journalism is facing great challenges in many parts of the world. Authoritarian regimes tighten their grip on media professionals who dare report in a critical and investigative way. This is true for many countries in the Middle East, but also in Asia and Eastern Europe. This underlines the importance to support unbiased journalism worldwide, which we intend by granting the Raif Badawi Award here at Frankfurt Book Fair, at the same time honoring the work and sacrifice of Saudi blogger Raif Badawi, still in jail. Before we continue with today's ceremony honoring a brave colleague from Turkey, I would like to give the word to Alexander Skipis, Managing Director of the German Publishers and Booksellers Association, and Professor Dr. Karl-Heinz Paquet, Chairman of the Board of the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom.
Ist es nicht erschütternd?
Isn't it harrowing, ladies and gentlemen, that the name giver of this award is imprisoned for more than 9.5 years now? He is threatened to have to pay a fine of more than 100,000 euros. And all of that only because he has posted in a blog online something about his vision of a liberal Saudi Arabia, expressing some ideas that appear to us who live in a free world and desire living in a free world something very natural and normal. He is now getting punished for what he has done. He is being punished for the freedom we live, because everywhere in this world, we have countries that discard the freedoms the way we live them. For example, China, Russia, and some other countries as well on the African continent, Saudi Arabia. And everywhere, the restriction and limitation and violation of the freedom of speech and expression is a landmark, is something that marks the totalitarian regime they want to impose. The first thing and biggest thing totalitarian regimes and rulers seek to restrict is the freedom of speech and expression. It is the power of the free word they fear the most, because it questions the grounds of their legitimation. Any violation of freedom of speech is a mark and a symbol and a sign for a threat democracy and democratic values are exposed to. That's why it is very important to award this prize on a yearly basis. This year's award winner, Alican Uludağ, is someone who made use of his right to this freedom of speech, his right to publish his open words. And he is a big name in his country, in Turkey, where a totalitarian regime is ruling with a president that is not aiming at giving his people their entire freedoms. That's why I here express my gratitude to each and everyone who is ready to bring the sacrifice in order to highlight the importance of the freedom of speech and expression. We who live in a free country, we can not even know how it is like not to be granted this freedom, not to be granted human rights, not to make use of the right to talk freely. That's why I am voicing my word to Germany and to the German foreign policy in order to call upon them to protect human rights all over the world and to protect the right of each and everyone to a free living. We, of course, want to remind of Raif Badawi's faith and want to encourage people to do what they want, namely enjoying their freedom of speech and expression. Thank you very much.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Alexander Skipis, dear Ensaf Haidar, dear Alican Uludağ. Thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you for supporting independent and courageous journalism. We, the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom, we were enthusiastic about the decision of the independent jury to choose Alican Uludağ as this year's winner of the Raif Badawi Award. A prize has always a symbolic character, and so it is with the Raif Badawi Award. It is a symbol for all those who want nothing more than express their opinions freely, and for this simple reason have to face oppression, have to face persecution, and have to face even imprisonment. With this award, we remember the destiny of Raif Badawi and of course you and your children, dear Ensaf Haidar, but also the destiny of those who are in prison today, who have been threatened because of their journalistic work. And despite of this, many of them continue their work, and we have the greatest respect for them. A few words, just a few, on Alican Uludağ. He is a professional journalist of Deutsche Welle since August 2021. Before he worked as a court reporter at Cumhuriyet. We are happy to have Erkan Arikan with us. He is head of the Turkish service at Deutsche Welle. He is with us today. A warm welcome to him as well. I heard from you, dear Erkan, that a staff of roughly 100 work for this Turkish service of Deutsche Welle. And you can be proud of this important source of independent journalism, which focuses on a country where restrictions on journalism are the rule, not the exception. Journalists like Alican work for the truth. They are committed to the truth, and the truth as a guiding principle is not just there, it is not self-given, it requires action. It must be found and detected, it must be explored and substantiated. It must be put to the test continuously and consistently. The accuracy of underlying information must be verified and cross-checked. Original sources have to be found and also protected. This is hard and sometimes dangerous work, and it requires the highest professional and the highest ethical standards. And in the press conference preceding this event, you, dear Alican, have elaborated on this in your talk with quite a few Turkish colleagues who partly admire your work. To have professional people who search for the truth with passion and competence, and who then put the truth into a language that is clear, concise, and understandable for many, that is an absolute precondition for the working of a pluralistic democracy. Without this, any democracy slides down into autocratic habits. Democracy and pluralism are in danger when the truth is manipulated and when there are not anymore enough professionals to disclose the truth. In short, we desperately need independent journalism. We need freedom of expression, and we need open access to information. And I say this as president of the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom, which works globally. It is deeply concerning that in many countries in the world, these freedoms are endangered. And this encourages us to honor personalities like Alican Uludağ with the Raif Badawi Award. Dear Alican, you deserve the Raif Badawi Award from the Börsenverein des Deutschen Buchhandels and the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom. As a foundation, we assure you, dear Alican, that we will support and promote your work in the future. You stand up for freedom of expression, you stand up for independent media work, you stand up for free access to information for all those people, many people who reach out for your articles. Thank you for all that, and congratulations on behalf of the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom. Thank you for your attention.
As I mentioned in the beginning, and also like Mr. Paquet just said, the situation for journalists and media professionals worldwide hasn't improved in recent months and years, as we witnessed, but to the contrary has deteriorated. So I can only imagine how difficult it was for the jury to choose from many, many brave colleagues worldwide to be awarded the Raif Badawi Award 2021. They picked and chose, as we heard, Alican Uludağ, a colleague from Deutsche Welle who has gained reputation as a court reporter before for Cumhuriyet and also reporting about corruption in his country. We will give you a short introduction about his work and the importance and the impact that he has on journalism and media in Turkey, in his home country, followed by a keynote video from Věra Jourová, the Vice President of the European Commission.
Türkiye Anayasası'nda basın özgürlüğünü basın özgürlüğü maalesef anayasada kağıt üstünde kalmış durumda. Fiiliyatta gazeteciler baskı altında, basın yayın organları ciddi anlamda baskı altında. Bu rütükeliyle gerçekleşiyor. Basın ilan kurumunun verdiği reklam ilan kesme cezalarıyla oluyor. Aynı zamanda sokakta gazeteciler emniyet tarafından engelleniyor, görevlerini yapamaz hale geliyor. Bu baskı ortamından elbette benim de etkilenmemem mümkün değil. Ancak buna rağmen gazetecilik yaşamımı sürdürmeye çalışıyorum ve elime geçen haberleri ısrarla bir şekilde yayınlamak benim temel anlayışımı yerine getiriyor. Bir yargı muhabiri güne resmi gazeteye, sabah saatlerinde resmi gazeteye bakarak başlar. Oradaki önemli bir yargı kararı varsa mutlaka onu inceler. Ben de bunu yaparak güne başlıyorum. Aynı zamanda gazeteleri okuyup burada önemli gördüğüm haberleri not alıyorum. Yine yargı alanında adaleti ilgilendiren karar ya da olayları, iktidar temsilcilerinin açıklamalarını da okuyup bilgi sahibi olarak güne başlıyorum. Daha sonra o günün önemli duruşmaları varsa bunları takip etmek için adliyeye gidiyorum. Adliyede bu duruşmaları takip ettikten sonra kalan zamanımda haber kaynaklarımla görüşüyorum. Yine kalan zamanda önemli haberleri de yazıyorum. Benim için gazetecilik standardı bir haberi tüm yönleriyle 5M1K denilen kurallarıyla oluşturmaktır. Haberi açık, herhangi bir soru işareti yer almayacak şekilde yazmaktır. Bu anlamda en önemli standart standart haberi belgeli olarak yayınlamaktır. Gazetecilikte birçok standart var. Benim açımdan 3 standart vardır. Birincisi etik kurallara bağlı kalmak, ikincisi belgeli habercilik, üçüncüsü de her şeyden önemlisi korkmadan ya da cesaretle bir haberi yazmak. Bunlar benim için olmazsa olmazdır. Raif Badawi düşüncelerinden dolayı 2014 yılından beri cezaevinde, düşünceleri uğruna cezaevine düşmüş olması, bunun bedelini ödemesi bana da mücadele azmi vermesi açısından örnek bir kişilik. Ben bu meslek yaşamımda Raif Badawi gibi, Uğur Mumcu gibi fikirleri ya da yazdıkları dolayısıyla bedel ödemiş kişileri her zaman örnek almışımdır. Bana bu ödülü değer gören sayın jüriye de teşekkür ederim.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to be virtually with you today for this ceremony and to congratulate Alican Uludağ for receiving the Raif Badawi Award. It is indeed very important for me to have this opportunity to pay tribute to Alican Uludağ and with him Raif Badawi and all the journalists who risk their lives to inform us. I would like to pay tribute to the courage of their families too. I know that Ensaf Haidar, the wife of Raif Badawi, will also speak today. I wish her a lot of strength in her relentless fight. I thank Professor Karl-Heinz Packe, chairman of the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom, for inviting me. I also thank Alexander Skipis, managing director of the German Publishers and Booksellers Association, for hosting the ceremony in the Frankfurt Book Fair. Book fairs are an amazing space for ideas, for diversity, for culture, for dialogue, for freedom. And this is what brings us together today: freedom and the recognition of the essential role of journalists as freedom fighters. This role has been further recognized recently with the Nobel Peace Prize awarded to Maria Reza and Dmitry Muratov. Without journalists, we would not know what is really happening in those countries where authorities want to destroy freedom. Democracies must stand together to support all those journalists and media workers persecuted across the world. We must not forget them. We should not forget their pain and what they have to suffer right now. Some would like us to forget. We don't. The European Union strongly condemns threats and violence against journalists and media workers. Our EU delegations around the world have strengthened their response to attacks against journalists. In the last 12 months, we have supported over 425 journalists with emergency grants, temporary relocation or support to their respective media outlets. And we need to do more, outside but also inside the EU. Because our credibility and capacity to act beyond EU's borders very much relies on how good we do at home. Last month, the Commission presented its first ever recommendations on the safety of journalists. We ask Member States to create independent national support services, including helplines, legal advice, psychological support, and shelters for journalists and media professionals facing threats. The EU funds this type of services. The European Centre for Press and Media Freedom in Leipzig helps journalists thanks to EU funding, including several Turkish journalists. We also call for an increased protection of journalists during demonstrations, greater online safety and particular support to female journalists. European Commission President von der Leyen also announced that the Commission will adopt a specific legislation to protect media freedom. We will present a European Media Freedom Act next year. We are also working on an initiative to protect journalists and civil society rights defenders against abusive litigation, the so-called strategic lawsuits against public participation, or SLAP. Because SLAP is another way to try to silence journalists. Alican Uludağ knows very well this type of legal harassment, as he faces many court cases, but he keeps on fighting and reporting. Svetlana Alexandrovna Alexievich, Belarusian journalist and Nobel Prize winner, once said, "Freedom is not an instantaneous holiday as we once dreamed. It is a road. A long road. We know this now." She also knows very well how long and dangerous the road is, the obstacles on the way. It takes courage to be Svetlana Alexievich. It takes courage to be Alican Uludağ and to be Raif Badawi. Many journalists are making sacrifices for the greater good. They fight for democracy and for society. It is time for democracy and for society to fight for journalists too. Thank you.
Those were the words of Věra Jourová, Vice President of the European Commission. After several years, I think we can be proud that the Raif Badawi Award has already become some sort of tradition to be awarded on the occasion of the Frankfurt Book Fair. And this award wouldn't be possible without a very special person we can this year again welcome here on the occasion. She effortlessly speaks about the sacrifice of her husband. She has traveled many countries in the world to speak about her struggle in Saudi Arabia, but also in the West, to come to terms with what has happened in her home country, to speak about her husband's struggle with the authorities and her story. I'm very happy that we can welcome her again today here in Frankfurt. Raif Badawi's wife, Ensaf Haidar. Ahlan biki, please. To us. Thank you. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to speak to you today on this important occasion to present the annual Raif Badawi Award for Courageous Journalists. As was the case last year, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I am speaking to you this year over the air. Let me begin by saluting the committee and its selection of this year's journalistic personality, especially since this award aims to highlight the difficult reality experienced by many male and female journalists around the world. The biography of a journalist, Alican Uludağ, and the difficulties he has been exposed to and is still facing, they show us what the absence of freedom of opinion and expression means in many parts of the world. I would also like to take this opportunity to remind of my beloved husband, Raif Badawi, and to note that the 10 years he spent in prison will soon be over, and my husband will be free again. You don't know what this means to me. You don't know what this means to my children, Najwa, Dudi, Miram. We have been waiting for this moment for years, counting the days and months, then the years, waiting for the day to come when he will be free. My children and I are still eagerly awaiting this day. The release of Raif Badawi is the beginning. However, a 10-year travel ban awaits him. me and my children will literally be banned from seeing him. When Raif gets out of prison, he will find a reality that is now different than before. And when Raif is released from prison, he will look for his wife and children. Therefore, I take this opportunity to appeal to His Majesty King Salman to lift the travel ban imposed on Raif upon his release. I hope with all my heart that next year Raif Badawi will be among us in Canada. It's time to bring closure to this chapter and to look ahead. And I hope with all my heart that we meet again next year and that I will be standing next to Raif with no pandemic and without a travel ban. Thank you very much.
Before we continue with the award ceremony itself, maybe I can pose a few questions, because I think there are also news that you received from Raif in prison, is that right, about his condition?
Of course, as usual, Raif calls us maybe twice or three times, sometimes 4 times a week. We are still staying in touch. Lately, Raif got his vaccine. He was vaccinated. He got the first shot, and the second shot, the second jab is still open, so he will hopefully receive it within 1 or 2 weeks. So I presume that last week he had some COVID-19 symptoms, actually. Therefore, we asked today for the prison to allow for him to receive some medication and some vitamins, and that was granted. They were brought inside the prison. So as far as his health condition is concerned, he's imprisoned for 10 years now. So you can imagine it's a psychological burden rather than a physical burden, actually. God will, he will be among us soon. He will be among us soon.
Positive are you that the travel ban may be indeed lifted once he is released?
I am always an optimistic person, and I remain so, because Raif is being imprisoned not as a criminal. He defended his opinion. And he is defending or used to defend things that were translated into reality, into practice meanwhile. So when he is to come out of the prison now, he will face a new reality. And I think this will help bring closure to this chapter, turn this page. And hopefully the travel ban would be lifted and he will see his children after 10 years.
Another brave person who is reporting about corruption as a court report and other issues in his home country in Turkey with the Raif Badawi Award. I think we can now welcome Alican Uludağ here on the stage, and you will proceed with the ceremony. You can hand it over.
I am really, really happy about this prize. It is a very symbolic one, not only for Raif, but for all countries. It is for journalism, for brave journalism all over the place.
So I think now the stage is yours.
Hello to everyone. This is a great honor for me to be here. I'm very honored. And I thank the jury and the Friedrich-Naumann Corporation. I want to thank to Turkey. in my career, all the people who helped me. I thank the Republic newspaper, and my online TV medium was closed by the government, and I thank the Deutsche Welle for having me here. I thank to my wife and my children. This is very honorable for me, because Raif Badawi has paid a high price for his activities. He's since 10 years in prison, and I hope he will hopefully soon be in freedom. I hope that we can live in a world, I imagine a world where we can live in a world where newspapers don't get killed or be in prison. I want to tell you some words about my career. In democracy, there are two main themes. It's about freedom and freedom of the constitutions. If there's no freedom, there's no democracy in those countries. If you can't get news, then you can't be very comfortable in life. In these countries, you can't find democracy because the media is banned. Because in Turkey, there's no freedom of speech. And the opposition gets treated bad by the government. So there's just one voice in Turkey. People have fear in Turkey. They live under bad conditions. They're in fear of getting killed or being censorship or in prison. So we have to stand out. We don't have to give up. There are so many journalists who were killed. Uğur Mumcu, Abdi Pekci, Çetin Hemec, Ahmet Taner Kışlalı, Hrant Dink, Metin Göktepe. They never took a step back. They always did their job. But they paid a high price. They lost their lives. And this is my vision of being a journalist. Journalism means to hold on for these people. That's why journalism means to write against the ruling society, the establishment, and to get killed when it has to be. You can't do this job if you live in wealth or in richness. The journalist is free. His only desire is his books and his work. Especially establishment, the government, don't want people who are freedom. Journalists have no right to have fear. So there are three main themes. I have my vision. So we have to build democracy, and I'm always supporting democracy. As I finish my speech, I thank everybody who's doing journalism and who paid a high price. Long live democracy, long live freedom of speech.
Alican Uludağ, many thanks. Because I would like to pose a few questions, as I'm very interested in what you can tell us about the situation in Turkey. I don't know it very well, to be honest. We only hear about it, how critical the situation is for journalists. Can you give us like some more examples or an idea? What is it like if you want to report in a critical fashion in Turkey?
Yani Türkiye,
Turkey is a country built up by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. It's a modern country, but there are times where Turkey is far away from these modern times. But in a couple of last years, where AKP is ruling, Turkey has a lot of problems. They're in danger to lose their power. So they make more pressure on the people, on the opposition. people like Osman Kavalens are since 4 years in prison. But there are no sources that show that they are guilty. But these times will end up someday. Democracy will come in Turkey for sure.
Doing your work sometimes?
As I said before, every human can have fear. But you have to be courageous. You have to be strong. You don't have a right to be in fear when you are a journalist.
You said one day things will change to a better. What makes you think this, or do you really see like this can happen in the near future? And what is necessary to achieve this?
The government loses from the society his trust, and the financial situation is very bad in Turkey right now. And the society, it seems like they don't want the government anymore. If there will be in 2023, there will be so the people can vote for a new government. I hope we can tell them better things like now, where the court is unindependent.
Very freely here about the situation in Turkey. Can that be a problem once you're back?
I don't think so, because I'm just a journalist, and I know which words can bring me in trouble and which not. I was never scared to say my opinion. These times will end up someday. You can't live to be in fear. Because when you have fear, you're no more human anymore. I'm concerned about some things, but I don't have fear in me.
Uludağ, congratulations again to the award. I think a very important work that you're doing in Turkey. We're all very impressed, I can say, and I wish you all the best for your work and for your future. Thank you a lot. And I also like to extend many thanks to the guests we can welcome here today at this wonderful venue on the occasion of the Frankfurt Book Fair, and would also like to thank our viewers online who have followed this award ceremony of the Raif Badawi Award 2021, and hope to welcome you again next year. Thank you and bye-bye. Thank you.